Elyon. So there's more to be talked about Malachim, Chassidus, it talks about it, you can look it up in the indexes, but let's suffice with that. Next question. Okay. Is it appropriate to paint the Rebbe's image on walls? Hi, Rabbi Jacobson. I want to talk to you today about a painful incident that took place a few months ago. You've probably noticed on Kingston Avenue here in Crown Heights, someone made graffiti paintings of the Rebbe on alleyway walls. Sometime later, two Bachrim spray painted over the image of the Rebbe. I think both parties had good intentions. I personally think it's disrespectful to paint a picture of the Rebbe in an alleyway, but at the same time, the way the Bachrim responded is also inappropriate. Although I understand where they're coming from, but that's not the issue I want to talk to you about today. After this incident, the websites posted a video of one of the Bachrim spray painting the mural. In a similar act, their sister website, the different Chabad websites referring to, posted an hour-long video of a Bachar doing some silly thing in 770. My point basically is, I'm not saying who's wrong and who's right, but you don't fix two wrongs with a third wrong by posting videos of Bachrim on the internet, which is a blatant act of Lashon Hara and causing embarrassment to another person. Even though Bachrim don't have money, but they're still people, and if they have to be dealt with, they're Rabbonim and Rosh Yeshiva. The different websites are Lubavitch websites and not some underground crooks. I think there has to be accountability and community standards. I want to make a public condemnation of the above websites. I know, Rabbi Jacobson, that you're not Chabad's policeman, but the Rabbonim and nobody else said anything. While I'm at it, I'll mention another problem with these websites, that they recently started putting on ads from Google called Ad Choices, which often has not sneers pictures. I think there's enough schmutz on the web. I don't think we need it on the Lubavitch website, where there should be some things that are above money. I hope you can read this letter on your show. I know it's a bit controversial, but from listening to your show, it doesn't seem like you fear controversy. Thanks, and Hatzlacha Rabbe. Okay. So let's break this down into several parts as well, because this also came, another question that came, how can there be terrorism in Chabad, referring to this defacing and other acts that are sometimes quite embarrassing, more than just embarrassing, but seeming to be violent even, hurting others, embarrassing others, doing things that are mistreating others. So I'm going to address this, though I don't call this controversial, I think it should be addressed, and I am not happy to talk about it, but it should be discussed, and I would love to hear everybody's feedback on this in your own way, but let me share my feelings on the matter. First of all, let's start with the pictures of the Rebbe. The Rebbe, I know different directives he gave that they should not make cartoons, for example, in the let's say Tzivus Hashem comic books of the Rabbeim. Shouldn't make caricatures. Pictures should be exactly the Rebbe. The Rebbe even has a note, I think I may have read it on one of the episodes, that b'tchlal, education of children, and the Rebbe says he had the power even over adults, is you don't create distortions. Any image that's not pure image, a pure picture, is a distortion, and essentially you're showing children. You make what the Rebbe says that it's not about the Rebbe necessarily, cartoons in general. You make someone with a long nose, or a wide mouth, or a big head. It's a caricature which demonstrates not authenticity. Talk about fake news, and sensitivity in educating children. You don't educate them with things that are exaggerated or in any way, even if it's for a good intention. And the Rebbe says even adults, because it creates a type of falsity in our reality. Concerning Rabbeim, the Rebbe was very insistent that Rabbeim should not be included in any of these type of characters or comic books or images. Okay, fine, but we do see, and we know that the Rebbe did encourage different artists and spoke to them about how to make pictures of even the Rebbe himself. So the idea of an art piece, which isn't a caricature, I'm just going through being thorough, but that we know that there is the concept, and we know that there are paintings made, and paintings with the Rebbe's blessing, and so on. The question is where these images can be displayed. So we also know the Rebbe gave directive to people who are in the publishing of stamps, who wanted to make a stamp. And the stamp is a very distinguished thing, that a government or a nation or country would make a stamp honoring the Rebbe or honoring the other Rebbeim. And the Rebbe said not to do it. I don't recall if the reason was given because people will throw it out, or people, once the stamp is not going to be treated with the right respect, but the Rebbe did not want that. So now the question is about pictures, putting the picture of the Rebbe, someone painting a mural on a wall. I don't want to call it graffiti, because it could be done a beautiful way, but I would lean towards saying that the Rebbe would not be supportive of it. because based on the other elements, because it's a matter of respect. Does it belong in a public setting, in a street? Now, if someone made a case that if I put it in a place where millions of people may see it, no, one could maybe argue because of the publicity of it, and people will get to know it. Also, the question is, what does a picture accomplish already without a message? So that's questionable. But in Crown Heights, to put on a mural where people know the Rebbe, what's the purpose? What are we trying to do? Create consciousness of the Rebbe where? In an alleyway or in a wall on a corner somewhere? Being that we don't know for sure, I would lean toward being to err on the side of caution. That better not, because we don't have a directive. And therefore we have to go with our own cheshbeinus. And you can make an argument for, you can make an argument against. I feel there's more argument against than for, because I don't see what's the benefit. And you need a case to be made for it, not a case to be made against it. So if someone asked me initially, I'd say, what do you have to go there? You want to make a beautiful painting, make a painting. Sell it to someone, let them hang it up in their living room, their dining room, in their home, in a distinguished place, in an art gallery, in a museum even. But on the street, it will be affected by the elements, by weather. It has an element of perhaps somewhat a little disrespectful, even though there's no question, I'm sure that anyone doing it is meant to really want to publicize the Rebbe. And again, I'm talking about Crown Heights. If outside of Crown Heights, again, it'd be Yishuv Hadas to think about it. I personally would, if I was asked, I would probably lean, again, err on the side of caution. But I'm not saying I have absolute source for it, but because I don't have a source, that's exactly why I'm saying this. So that would be my, regarding that. Regarding defacing it, besides the fact of defacing of an image of the Rebbe, even if you don't like where it's placed, once it's there already, there's another issue here. What kind of anhog is this? What kind of behavior is this? Who educated bochrim to do things that are where are they getting sprayed for? What are they doing? Dreinzach in the gas. By the Rebbe, this was a major thing, even if they have good intentions. What's a bach? Bach should be sitting in yeshiva learning, niglech chassidus, davening, doing mitzvahs, going mivtzoyim, and filling the Rebbe shlichus. So where's a bach b'chlal come to being defacing anything? This, I would say, even if nothing to do with the Rebbe's picture. Someone went with the spray paint, doesn't like, so an ad. Where does it come from, this idea of tearing things, breaking things? The Alter Rebbe didn't want to even break, even though he didn't want to enjoy the tobacco box that that he was given as a gift. So Tzemach Tzedek said, the Alter Rebbe is shaychus zu brechen. So what did he do? He said, the Alter Rebbe said when they gave him this tobacco box, was the shmek tabak, which was for snuff, a snuff box. So the Alter Rebbe says, the only chush that was not contaminated by the chet tzadas is the smell, and now you want me to contaminate that too? What did the Alter Rebbe do? He didn't throw it out. He took out the spring, the hinge, and used it as a mirror, the cover of the box, for his film. The Alter Rebbe was not shaykh to shvira. Chassidim are not shaykh to breaking. We become bochim b'chlal. So that, to me, is an outrage. And one thing has nothing to do, you're absolutely right. Even if I just stated my opinion about it, but that's not the way to do it. If indeed Rabbonim, Mashpim feel this is not appropriate, you find ways. You find the people who did it and speak to them and say, maybe we have to find a better way to do it. So the Hafkedus of Bochum behaving in this way is completely unacceptable, and I completely comment on that in the same way. Regarding the websites, I am not here to regulate the websites. As you said, I'm not the policeman. I would believe that the websites, if they truly want to live in the spirit of the Rebbe, Chabad, and represent that, will have the highest standards of what they do, that should never stoop to yellow journalism, never stoop to anything that is like just exposing or an agenda to prove who did defacing, who did not, because maybe you have to stay away from taking positions on this matter. Even as I said, even if we agree that the picture shouldn't have been made, and that on that hand. And on the other hand, some people just want to expose others. I think it's important that the websites have their own internal discretion, and definitely everyone should have mashpim and should have people to make decisions, especially sensitive matters. I happen to be the publisher of the Allgemeine Journal, which I can't call a Chabad website. It's more universal, and we have strict responsibility when you're writing something for the public, how people interpret things. So I'm very aware of journalistic standards, and I think the websites have to apply that as well, and they're each one in their own way. And I hope that they will live up to those standards, and that way they will only encourage people's trust in them by seeing that they are a noble and they rise to the occasion and they take the high road instead of stooping to anything that may be inappropriate. But here again, I'm not the regulator, and I don't know if it is or not appropriate. Different things, they need to be looked at case by case. But I want to talk now about a little more about this the question that someone asked about terrorism in Chabad. Terrorism. I mean, first of all, the word terrorism is a very strong word, and it's usually reserved today for people who kill others, innocent people, Muslim terrorists and extremists. However, the word in a broad sense is like anything where people are using tactics that are not Teiredik. So let me share with you, we have a precedent, and maybe that's why the Rebbe, everything has a precedent that the Rebbe bavarant alt. The Rebbe alt bavarant, as the Rebbe said about the Frierdiker Rebbe. He considered everything and addressed everything that would come up, any challenges, including today in the year Tovshin Ches. In Tovshin Lamed Hey, Shabbos Pasha B'Shalach, and the Fabringen afterwards, Tu B'Shvat, there was a very unpleasant incident where a writer in a Yiddish newspaper went and attacked and said, because there was an issue then with his father-in-law, that someone went and they broke his windows or they stuffed up his locks. So he wrote an article and he called that Lubavitch is a terror brigade. In Lubavitch there's a terror brigade, such a thing. You can look up the Sichos. So any behavior, and I've seen behavior, and I'm going to go into details, of people, especially Bochrim. We're talking about Bochrim, who's supposed to be under the modus, under the responsibility of a yeshiva, behaving in ways that embarrass another human being. Malbim pnei chavere. That do things that are aggressive, that are chil Hashem, that are destructive. That in any way, so the Rebbe told you a beautiful way, in a darke noyam, in a pleasant way, and not with negel, as the Rebbe says, not with nails and not with gvuras, not with severities. Okay. Let's move on to next topic. Since we're already on local topics, community topics, so the next question is, would the Rebbe be happy with the recent Crown Heights food crawl? Hi, Rabbi Jacobson. Thank you for your ongoing classes and inspiration. I am troubled by the decadence that seems to have settled into mainstream Crown Heights culture. Most recently, it is the food crawl between upscale Crown Heights restaurants. After all the work our Rebbe put into us, is this where we've reached? Okay.